What's up, guys? Welcome back to another class preview. Uh, Today we're going to be going over the Protection Paladin spec for the Legion Alpha and some of the major changes that have happened, and also kind of looking over the artifact weapon and just kind of seeing how that plays into the spec. But we're going to be going over the spellbook, the talents, then checking out the awesome new artifact weapon, and seeing how it's possibly going to be playing when Legion comes out on August 30th. I am so hyped, but still quite a ways away. But anyways, let's get right into it. Starting off in the spellbook, we do have Ardent Defender. Instant cast with a 1.5 minute cooldown. Reduces all the damage you take by 20% for 8 seconds. While Ardent Defender is active, the next attack that would otherwise kill you will instead bring you to 12% of your maximum health. Now this is a very nice low low cooldown for our defensive um, capabilities. Does only reduce the damage by 20%, but giving you kind of two aspects of using this, where you know you're gonna die, you can pop this, therefore kind of giving you um, something similar to Purgatory from Death Knights and Warlords, or kind of like the old Ardent Defender, but also you can pop this at times you're going to be taking a bunch of damage and just kind of working off that low cooldown for that 20% damage reduction. Now we do have Avenger's Shield still. It is an instant cast with a 14-second cooldown. Hurls your shield at the enemy target, dealing 58,000 holy damage, interrupting and silencing non-player targets for 3 seconds, and then jumping to 2 additional nearby enemies. This does increase the effect of your Shield of Righteousness or Light for Light of the Protector by 20%, giving you kind of more options to where to use this. I do like the fact that it gives you the 2 options of using this on your Shield of Righteousness and also the Light of the Protector, kind of making the Paladin choose, the tank choose how to play and what's more important, getting health back or still having that damage reduction, and kind of creating a synergy between your healers and yourself. We do have Avenging Wrath, a nice kind of damage boost and also a healing boost as well, since Protection Paladins do have quite a bit more self-sustain right now. Does increase all the damage you do, and healing you do by 35% for 20 seconds. Gives you some awesome wings, very much in the feel of a paladin. Next we do have Blessing of Freedom. Does cost 33,000 mana with a 25-second cooldown. Place a blessing on a party or raid member, granting immunity to movement and pairing effects for 8 seconds. Same old. Blessing of Protection, 33,000 mana cost, 5-minute cooldown. Places a blessing on a party or raid member, protecting them from all physical attacks for 10 seconds. This cannot be used on target with Forbearance, and this does also cause Forbearance for 30 seconds. Now Blessing of Sacrifice, 15,000 mana, 2-minute cooldown. Place a blessing on the party or raid member, transferring 30% of the damage taken to you for 12 seconds, or until the transfer damage would cause you to fall below 20% health. This is a very nice cooldown, especially for tanks, since it does work off of, like, say you're the main tank and it's time for the off tank to take the boss, and say he's not that geared, he does need an additional cooldown or something, he ran out of defensive cooldowns for some reason, you can pop this on him, giving him basically a 30% damage reduction and allowing you to kind of share that burden. We do have Cleanse Toxins, um, instant cast, 8-second cooldown. Does cost a decent amount of mana, 28,000. Cleanses a friendly target, removing all poison and disease effects. Now, the fact that I can use this on anyone does make tanks a little bit even nicer, and also maybe having more to do with disease popping and all this stuff. We do have Consecration, instant cast, 8-second cooldown. Consecrates the land beneath you, causing 59,000 holy damage over 11 seconds to enemies who enter the area. I kind of knew a cool effect. Basically, raise your sword into the air, and then this nice, clean, consecrated land effect does happen. Now it does last longer than the cooldown, so obviously you can keep it up at all times. We still have Divine Shield. It's a cast 5-minute cooldown. Protects you from all damage and spells for 8 seconds. Cannot be used if you have Forbearance, and this does cause Forbearance for 30 seconds. Nice kind of new updated feel to it. I do like this, the animation of it. Now Divine Steed. Now for at least Holy, this is a talent, and not sure about Ret, but it is just automatically comes into the Protection Paladin. Instant cast with a 45-second cooldown. Summons your Holy Charger to ride for 3 seconds. Increases movement speed by 100%, and this is usable while indoors or in combat. Basically, gives you a nice speed boost, especially Paladins. I did think needed that quite a bit. We do have Flash of Light. It does cost 44,000 mana with a 1.4 second cast. A quick but expensive spell, having a friendly healing a friendly target for 156,000 healing. Does use a bunch of our mana. You can probably only get a few of these off, but it does do quite a bit of healing. Maybe not to tanks itself, but giving you more kind of self-sustain. Next we do have Guardian of the Ancient Kings. Our main damage reduction defensive cooldown. Does have a 5-minute cooldown. Empowers you with the Spirit of an Ancient King, reducing all damage you take by 50%. Now this is a very cut and dry cooldown, but it is very nice, especially for maybe berserking phase or really high tank damage. Does have a nice cool effect because you turn into this almost Tyrael looking guy, and having some cool effects to that as well. Next we do have Hammer of Justice. Costs 7,000 mana, instant cast with a 1-minute cooldown. Stuns your target for 6 seconds. Very nice. No real explanation needed. Just does a nice stun and a cool animation as that. Does have a nice hammer coming down, giving you the feel that you are Thor. And everyone should bow down to your will. But next we do have Hammer of Righteousness. Now this is going to be your main spell that you're going to be spamming all the time. But it does have a 2.8 second recharge. It does have 2 charges. Hammers a current target for 8,000 physical damage. While you're standing in consecration, Hammer of the Righteousness also causes a wave of light that hits all other targets within 8 yards for 5,000 holy damage. Basic main attack It does work off of recharges, but there is a talent that can um, make this spammable. Um, but either way, it is nice because you don't have to worry about having multiple spells for AoE. You just need Consecration down, which you can keep up at all times, and then um, just spamming this gives you a lot of threat on a lot of mobs. I do like the fact that they did that for most of the tanks, like Death and Decay with blood decays, and their blood strike kind of synergize instead of them having to add more spells. I know it does kind of cut down on all the spells that paladins or tanks have in their arsenal, but giving it more of a synergy, and the more you know of your class. I mean, obviously this isn't the most advanced tactic, but um, does provide an kind of a cool effect, and also basically the way you play. Do have Hand of Reckoning, same old taunt with an 8-second cooldown. Taunts the target to attack you, and increases the threat you generate against the target for 3 seconds. Hand of the Protector, which is actually Light of the Protector, calls down light to heal you for 25% of your missing health. This does have a 14-second cooldown. Now this really plays into your self-sustain, giving you a lot more healing, especially off of some of your artifact weapon traits. You do get a bunch of healing from this. Now next we do have Judgment. Judges an enemy, dealing 36,000 holy damage. This does have a 5.6-second cooldown. Now there's some talents that can work off of this, such as Judgment of Light, giving you more defensive abilities instead of just you press this just to get it out of the way. But it does work with one of our masteries as well, giving it more effects than just doing a small amount of damage. Next we do have Lay on Hands. It's a cast 10-minute cooldown. Heals a friendly target for the amount equal to your maximum health. Cannot be used on a target with Forbearance, and this does cause Forbearance for 30 seconds as well. Nice healing cooldown, especially it can synergize for you. You can make it more of a defensive cooldown, or also can help out your other tank as well, quite a bit, since you should have around the same amount of health as they do. Unless they're a bear tank, then you don't even come close to their max health. We do have Rebuke, basic interrupt with a 15-second cooldown. Interrupts the spells and prevents them to cast that School of Magic for 4 seconds. Redemption, basic res. Now Shield of Righteous. Now this is going to be our main active mitigation. This is going to be kind of play kind of well and counteractively with Light of the Protector. But it slams the target with your shield, causing 4,000 holy damage, and reduces the damage you take by 42% for 4.5 seconds. Now obviously this does have a 11-second recharge with 3 charges, so you can keep this active at all times, but making sure you spread these out is very important, so you don't just spam these, wasting all your stacks. So since the new little health bar down here does display it, makes it kind of easy to keep track of your active mitigation. But onto the passives, we do have Grand Crusader. When you avoid a melee attack or use Hammer of the Righteousness, you have a 15% chance to reset the remaining cooldown of Avenger's Shield. Now, since Avenger Shield does work a 14-second cooldown, but does increase the effect of your Shield of Righteousness and also the Lighted Protector, making this a very good passive, plus also making you want to have a lower cooldown on Hammer of the Righteousness, giving you more chances of proccing this, therefore reducing your damage or kind of giving you more heals. Since it does do 20% more heals or gives you 20% less damage. So hit that, then hit that. I do reduce the damage I take by 50%, which is quite a bit. As no longer just works off physical damage, it reduces all of the damage. Next passive, we do have Heart of the Crusader. Increases your mounted speed by 20%. This does not stack with anything else. Nice that Paladins can fly around a lot faster than anyone else except for like DKs and stuff like that. Now onto our Mastery. Divine Bulwark. Increases the damage reduction from your Shield of Righteousness by 7% and increases your chance to block a melee attack by 14%. This also increases our attack power by 14% as well, giving you more bonuses from stacking Mastery, allowing tanks to actually do a decent amount of damage. But this does help out the damage reduction from Shield of Righteousness, otherwise it would be 35%. So obviously, the more Mastery you do stack, the more beneficial rotating the Shield of Righteousness and also getting Avenger Shield procs with your Shield of Righteousness is going to be a lot better. Now we do have Redoubt. The passive Judgment Critical Strikes gives you a chance, gives you a charge of Shield of Righteousness. Now this is very nice, especially, I mean, you should be able to keep this active at all times with all the recharge. But after, say, I'm fully used out of it, it does have a decent long recharge, so there will be some times that you won't have it fully active. Say you automatically lost something or something like that. Something went wrong, you lagged for a second, and you don't have this active. Your crit will also help you out and give you more shield stacks and even more damage if you are critting a lot off of your judgments. But moving on to talents, our 15 level talents, we do have First Avenger, which is a passive. Increases the damage of your Avenging Shield by 100%, and also increases the chance for its remaining cooldown to be reset by abilities and talents by 100%, but this now only hits one target. Now for single target fights or targets that you need to just kind of worry about one mob, this could be very good, especially you'll be slamming this a lot and getting more procs of Avenging Shield, therefore giving you more damage reduction or more healing, making this talent very powerful, but maybe not the best for AoE fights. Next we do have Hand of the Protector. This does replace Light of the Protector. Have a similar cooldown with a 15-second cooldown. Calls down the light to heal a friendly target, not just yourself, because Light of the Protector just heals you, but this can heal a friendly target for 41% of the target's missing health. Now this is very nice. Most likely you'd be using this on yourself, but if you are low life, this does work very well in kind of synergizing with kind of redemption and kind of giving you some extra healing instead of just the normal 25% healing. Next we do have Consecrated Hammer. It's another passive. Your Hammer of Righteousness always gains the damage bonus of Consecration and no longer has a cooldown. So instead of the recharge times of like about 3 seconds, I can keep pushing this out and I don't even need to have Consecration down, giving me more AoE capabilities and more spamming capabilities too. Next we do have Holy Shield. Another passive, does increase our block chance by 10%, allowing you to block spells as well, and your successful blocks deal 21,000 holy damage to your attacker, giving you more damage, especially off of multi-target fights, kind of giving you quite a bit of damage actually, and giving you more mitigation from just being able to block spells and having that increased chance. Next we do have Guardian's Light, another passive. Just baseline increases the healing done of Light of the Protector. Now this does still work with Hand of the Protector, but synergizing these could be very good, especially if say you're not the best geared or something like that, and you keep dropping low. So these two talents together might be very beneficial. So, oops. So having that off, it would only heal 41% of the target's missing life. Now, if I had that up, it would be 49. But if I had Avenging Shield, it would be 59%. So healing you for quite a bit of damage on a 15-second cooldown. Last but not least, in the 30 level talents, we do have Last Defender. Passive, each enemy within 8 yards reduces the damage you take by 3%. This effect has diminishing returns, so I'm not sure if it works on target dummies. Nope, it doesn't. But this would work very well with multi-target fights. If you're the ad tank, this could be very, very, very useful, reducing the damage you take by quite a bit, but kind of giving you more options in how you're going to play or what you're going to be doing in a certain fight. But moving on to the 45 talents, we do have Fists of Justice. Another passive, your Judgment reduces the remaining cooldown of your Hammer of Justice by 10 seconds. Now since Judgment is a 5-second cooldown, you can reduce the Hammer of Justice for that 1 minute cooldown and kind of make it like a 20-second cooldown almost, depending on your haste. So does that make that more powerful for fights that you need to be stunning, even questing around. But next we do have Repentance. It does cost 22,000 mana with a 1.6 second cast, 15-second cooldown. Forces the enemy target to meditate, incapacitating the target and dealing up to a maximum of 25% of the target's health and damage over 1 minute. This is usable against demons, dragonkins, giants, undead, and humanoids. Nice little CC. Does give you a little bit different feel since it does deal damage while CCing them, but a very nice cooldown nonetheless. Next is Blinding Light, 17,000 mana cost with a 1.5 minute cooldown. Emits dazzling light in all directions, blinding enemies within 10 yards, dealing 73,000 damage and causing them to wander around disoriented for 6 seconds. Non-holy damage will break this disorient effect. So you can do this while having Consecrate down and damaging them even more, and kind of synergizing that. But next we do have Blessing of Spell Warding. This does replace our Blessing of Protection right here, but does have a lower cooldown of 3 minutes. Places a blessing on a party or raid member, protecting them from all magical attacks for 10 seconds. Cannot be used on targets with Forbearance, and this also does cause Forbearance for 30 seconds as well. Basically giving you, if it's going to be more of a spell damage fight, this might be useful just to help out a certain target. Say if it targets one of the range, one of a mage or something like that that's decently squishy, you can put this on them and saving them just in case they do get a nasty tick or something like that, giving them the ability to survive instead of having the healers spam onto the one single target. Next we do have Blessing of Salvation, instant cast with a 1 minute cooldown. Places a blessing on a target or raid member, temporarily removing all threat from the target and causing additional threat to be generated to be transferred to you, lasts for 10 seconds. Now, I do see this very situational. Say if I do have ads coming out of one specific place, I can place this on a target, maybe a ranged DPS or something like that, that is supposed to help pick up the ads, especially like a hunter or something with misdirect, or rogue with tricks of the trades or something like that, giving them the ability to help me out and make sure that I'm getting threat to these ads that may be across the room. But this could be a very good cooldown, especially for picking up ads. We do have Retribution Aura as a passive. You deal 1,000 holy damage to any enemies whose you deal 1,000 holy damage to any enemy whose melee attack strikes a non-tank party or raid member within 60 yards. So kind of helps out the raid, especially if we have ads running out of control, or maybe ads that do not have a kind of a threat table, and giving you a little option. But overall, nice little talent row. Not sure if it all kind of fits in well. The only really useful one I do see is Blessing of Salvation with picking up ads, but nonetheless, very situational row. Next we have Bastion of Light, instant cast with a 3 minute cooldown. You immediately gain 3 charges of Shield of Righteousness. So if you're out for some weird reason, you can always pop this. It does have a kind of high cooldown, but gives you more abilities, especially if it's a long damage, if you have to be taking the damage from the boss for quite a while and they are going through some berserk or damage increase. It kind of helps out quite a bit. Next we do have Crusader's Judgment, Judgment has a 15% chance to reset the remaining cooldown of Avenging Shield. Now, this could be very useful, especially dealing with a bunch of stacks of Shield of Righteous. Get more procs, therefore increasing your damage reduction or increases your healing. So, does kind of synergize very nicely with basically less worrying about getting that more damage reduction or more healing. But next we do have Blessed Hammer, my favorite new talent. It does replace our main spam ability, which is Hammer of the Righteousness. It's an instant cast with a 1.4 second cooldown with concentrated hammer, of course. Otherwise, it does go to that 2.8 second recharge. But throws a blessed hammer that spirals outward, dealing 24,000 holy damage to enemies that it hits, causing them to deal 15% less damage to you on their next auto attack. Now, I find this to be amazing, especially for tanks. Well, it is only for tanks, but mostly because of the effect, and also the fact that you can keep spamming this. It does 15% less damage. Like, this only doesn't affect you if it's a casting fight, like if you're taking mostly spell damage. So, basically, it looks like this. We do have kind of a Diablo feel of having that Paladin back and being able to spam blessed hammers around yourself. I do find this to be a very nice ability just for tanks, being able to reduce all their auto attack damage constantly. Next is Aegis of Light. The channeled ability with a 5-minute cooldown channels the Aegis of Light that protects you and your allies standing within 10 yards behind you for 6 seconds, reduces all damage taken by 20%. Now this is a hugely situational effect. If we do need to reduce a bunch of damage or have a healing cooldown, it's just like a Dispriest bubble, something like that from Warlords, but does have a nice protection Paladin feel. I do like this talent, even though it is hugely situational, but it does have a nice feel to it. Like, you are protecting like all the people behind you. Like, you feel like a tank when you press this button. Next, we do have Judgment of Light, which is a passive. Your Judgment now applies Judgment of Light to the target, causing the next 40 successful attacks to the target to heal the attacker for 5,000 health. This effect can only occur once per second on each target. So, say I have this up, it does have 40 stacks. If we do have a lot of melee in, this can be very nice, but I can also have it up on multiple targets, allowing this to be very useful, especially if we have split DPS and someone is training the wrong target, which happens more often than you think. But it gives you some nice healing, just because it's just auto attacks. I mean, if we do have a bunch of ranged casters, this won't affect that much. It may be healing them, but as of right now, I don't think it heals them. But next but not least, we do have Consecrated Ground. It's a passive. Up to 6 allies standing within your consecration receive 2,000 healing every second. And the enemies within your consecration do have a 50% reduced movement speed. giving this, if we have a bunch of melee, this can be very useful. If we're all supposed to be stacked up too, you can pop that down, give you a little extra healing, maybe take a very small amount of pressure off of the healers. Next we do have the Righteous Protector passive. Your Shield of Righteousness causes the remaining cooldown of Light of the Protector to be reduced by 3 seconds. Now this kind of synergizes and also kind of doesn't, because you can, with a Vending Shield, you do choose which is going to be more powerful, Light of the Protector or your Shield of Righteousness. Now say I already had Light of Protector down, this does give me more self-sustain and giving me kind of reduced time on healing myself. Say in like a dungeon, like the healer dies, having this would be pretty nice, kind of proccing your heal a lot more often and giving you obviously more heals and kind of a more self-sustain. Next we have Knights Templar as another passive, reduces the cooldown of Divine Steed by 50% and reduces all damage taken while mounted on your Divine Steed by 20%. Honestly, I don't think this is a very good passive. It is highly situational. I mean, in most fights, tanks don't have to move all that much. Maybe they're probably like one of the least moving classes, just because they want their melee to be able to stand in one spot or in a certain area. But having the reduced cooldown to 22 seconds could be useful, especially if we had to run and go pick up ads or something like that. Next we do have Final Stand. It does reduce the cooldown of your Divine Shield by 50%, and when you use Divine Shield, you can you also taunt all targets within 15 yards for 8 seconds. Now, this kind of makes our Divine Shield somewhat of a defensive cooldown. Now, this always drops threat when you pop this, because obviously the mobs can't attack you, so they don't want can't hurt you, so they don't want to attack you. But having this on a lower cooldown of 2.5 minutes, making this more of a defensive cooldown, just because it does require everyone to still attack you for the duration of this. But yeah, if you're low geared, this might be a decent talent, but once you're starting to get the right stats, I don't see this to be the best talent, but it kind of does have an interesting feel to it, allowing Divine Shield to be actually used by tanks and stuff. But moving on to the artifact weapon, we do have Truth Guard and also Oath Seeker, but Truth Guard is our main one since we are a protection paladin. Now our main ability is Eye of Tyr. Now as an instant cast with a 1 minute cooldown, releases a blinding flash from Truth Guard, your shield, causing 73,000 holy damage to all enemies and all nearby enemies, and reducing all damage they deal to you by 25% for 9 seconds. Now this also makes it a very nice defensive cooldown. Does look like this. Does have a cool spell effect. Makes you actually look like a tank, but reduces the damage they deal just to myself, not to anyone else. I do like the fact that is on a decently low cooltime, but it only does last for 9 seconds, therefore giving it you have to use this at the right times, and you just kind of, I mean, if you've done the fight before, obviously you'll know when to use this, but does kind of help out quite a bit with a 25% reduced damage. But we do have some passives that greatly increase the playing of a protection paladin and kind of fit into the role of defending your group or a raid or something like that. We do have Tears Enforcer. It's a passive. The knowledge of the Watchers causes Truth Guard to deal 36,000 damage to all enemies within 5 yards of each target hit by Avenging Shield. Therefore making Avenging Shield do more AoE, therefore allowing you to not have more AoE spells, therefore lowering all the spells required in the book, kind of cleaning up some of the maybe unnecessary spells, but kind of giving you some nice synergy with some AoE. We do have the Bulwark of the Order. It's another passive, Avenging Shield. Also shields you for 8 seconds, absorbing as much damage as it dealt. So, working off your shield obviously, but giving you 39,000 absorb. Not the best, but if this is proccing off quite a bit, it does overall reduce a bunch of damage. Plus it's a passive, so you can't really beat that. Now last but not least, we do have Light with the Titans. Shield of Righteousness empowers your next Light of the Protector to heal you for additional 245,000 health over 15 seconds. Now, if you pop this, then you pop Avenging Shield, then pop this, it does increase the heal over time that this does by 20%. Therefore giving you a lot more health back and giving you an amazing amount of self-sustain. I really did think Paladins were missing a bunch of self-sustain, having to get to 5 stacks of Shield of Righteousness, then popping them on Word of Glory did not feel very, very smooth, but having this synergy kind of helps out quite a bit, and also gives you a lot more healing. But overall, very nice new spec. I do like the way this plays. You do feel more of a protection paladin, and plus these new blessed hammers are amazing. I loved blessed hammers in Diablo 3, and I'm really glad that they add this. Plus it is kind of overpowered with a 15% damage reduction. But anyways, I do feel more useful in fights, healing myself a lot more, and kind of having more of a damage mitigation. Also playing off on how I want to. Say I have low life, I should probably be using Avenging Shield, Avenger's Shield with Light of the Protector. Or if I'm full life and I know I'm about to take some damage, I should be using Avenging Shield with Shield of the Righteousness. Therefore giving me more options on how I want to play at a single point in time. Therefore increasing at least my my fun. Like, I do like that you can kind of play how you want to and kind of change it up for like a certain boss. If you have to pick up a bunch of ads, maybe Last Defender is the one for you, or if you need to do a bunch of damage to a bunch of ads, even Holy Shield can kind of help you out there. But this does have a nice kind of clean feel. Doesn't have all that many buttons, which is a little worrisome, but I guess tanks do kind of have to worry about quite a bit more. I mean, obviously, everything is going to be changing with like artifact items and all that, kind of changing how you play. But this is a very nice spec. Plus, it has awesome, awesome new shield and sword. Some of the transmogs of this artifact weapon are amazing. One of them even changing your sword into a hammer, which is awesome as well. Just because when I think of protection paladin, I do think of hammers. Maybe because I have hammers floating around me, and I have a sword in my hand. But I do like this spec. I'm actually thinking about making this one of my main tanks, but Vengeance is also looking very strong as well. But if we did like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. There's plenty more to come. I still got a bunch of classes to do, especially with Legion coming out on August 30th. I'm super hype about that, and kind of give me even more excitement to make these videos and put out this content. If we do have any questions about this spec or maybe a potential spec that you want me to do next, please put them in the comment box below. Thank you very much once again for watching, and I will see you guys next time.